page turners. As you've probably noticed, we are in a different location today. We are in front of my many bookshelves, which you would have seen in my welcome post on my Instagram from last month. Yeah, I've been doing this for a month now. Can you believe it? It's crazy. So, I'm not even joking, a massive unboxing for you guys today. Like, that's not even a joke. But before I get into the actual unboxing, I'll tell you the story about what happened. So, last weekend on Saturday and Sunday, there was a sale at a little bookshop in Wallachia called Elizabeth Arcade's Books. And I've been following that bookshop for a while, but I'd never actually been. And they were doing a big closing down sale where all fiction was free. There was like non-fiction books for like $1, $2, $3. So I was like, oh, free books. So you know what it's like being a book trovert. If there is free books, like, oh, give. But anyways, so I ended up spending the grand total huge amount of $45. I came out with 1, 2, 3, and 4 boxes. Welcome to the life of being a book trovert, am I right? So, I'm going to start, if I can just cross my legs properly. So we'll be starting with this box here. This is box number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So normally, especially with my autism, I would go from left to right, as you should. But because this one is closest and it's also the least filled, let's get into it. Box 1. We have a DK Eyewitness Guide on William Shakespeare. I actually really enjoyed reading Shakespeare's plays when I was in high school, so this one's a really interesting one. And like I mentioned in my last video with the library reviews, I do love a DK Eyewitness Guide, so I was really excited to pick this one up. Book number 2. We have Events That Changed the World. So, very interesting book. It says over 100 major events that have changed the world in the past 100 years. So, let me just check the date that this book was published. This book was published in 2004. So it would be from, oh, here we go. It's got the dates in the contents. So it's from 2004, starts with the Madrid train bombing, all the way to 1901 when Queen Victoria dies. I personally would have liked it the other way around, starting with 1901 and going all the way up to 2004 with the Madrid train bombing. But that's just my opinion. So, really interesting book because I do like a lot of history. And when I was in high school, we only learnt Australian political history and a little bit about World War One and a little tiny bit about the stolen generation with the Aboriginal peoples. So yeah, I would have liked to have learnt a lot more history, which is why I buy and read so many history books now. Book number 3, we've got The Chronicle of Murder. So all about different criminals, so not necessarily serial killers, but it says a year-by-year account of the world's most pitiless crimes. So I'm a bit of a true crime junkie, and I do have a weird obsession with serial killers. Oh, speaking of serial killers, there's a picture of Ted Bundy there. And that looks like, yep, it is Charles Manson there. And I think that first guy in the hat could possibly be Albert Fish, maybe? Yeah, you see what I mean? I have a little bit of a weird obsession with serial killers. So it starts from 1900 and goes up into the Soham murders, which I actually haven't heard of. So that's pretty cool. So that's that one. I've got this little fancy one. It does have embossed kangaroo and fern on it. So what I'll do is I'll try and take a close-up picture of it and post it sort of in the middle here so you guys can see it. But this one is called Wildlife in Australia Illustrated. And number one, I bought this book because I just love how fancy it looks, because, you know, you got to have fancy books in your collection. But look how gorgeous these illustrations are, guys. Like, oh my gosh. Like, these are fabulous. And the information is nice and easy for me to understand as well. Even though this book is for adults, it's nice and easy to understand. So there's that one. Next one, we've got another true crime one, 100 Most Infamous Criminals. So we have Charles Manson, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, Bonnie and Clyde, David Berkowitz, also known as the Son of Sam killer. And that looks like Al Capone. So let's see who's in this one. Surprisingly, a lot of people I haven't heard of. So the ones that I have heard of, Countess Elizabeth Bathory. She's also known as the Blood Countess. Ivan the Terrible, of course, because everyone knows Ivan the Terrible. Ilsa Kosh. Yeah, she's pretty famous from World War II. Oh, okay. So it's separated into places. So we've got international, we've got the United States. Oh, Lizzie Borden's in there. Britain and Australia. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in Australia. One who I've heard of, which is obviously Ned Kelly. He's quite famous, so I like that. So, and it's sort of set up a little bit like a newspaper. So it goes from, for example, this one, Henri Landru, to there, and then goes into Lucky Luciano. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I like that layout. It's quite interesting. Next one, I've got this one on Vikings. So it's Viking Hammer of the North. So it's all different information about Vikings. It is an adult book, but it does have quite easy to understand information. And I like a little bit of Viking history and a little bit of Norse history, so there's that one. Next one we've got is an album of New Zealand birds, and this was originally priced for $2, but the gentleman who owned the bookshop gave it to me for free because there's a bit of damage to the dust cover here and a little bit up the top, which actually doesn't bother me because I don't like dust covers anyway. I tend to just throw them out because they bother me while I'm reading. But I bought this book because a lot of the bird books that I have are sort of around Australia or the United States, the UK, and pretty much the only New Zealand birds that are featured are your really, really well-known ones like your kiwi, kakapo, and the kea. But this one has a lot of really, really beautiful, interesting birds. Like this one, the takahe. I'm actually part New Zealander myself, so it is a little bit interesting to have it read like that. I don't often read books like that, so that's a little bit interesting. But what I also like about this one is that it's got, on the contents page and on the page with the birds, it's got the English name and it also has the Maori name for it. So, for example, if I go to here we go. If I go to the banded dotterel, so it's got the Latin name for it, but it's got the Maori name for it down the bottom. Pohowera. I am working on my Maori pronunciations as well, so yeah, there's that one. So that's a good one for my animal collection. Alright, last book for box number 1. The Romanoff Family Album. So obviously, especially if you guys have watched Anastasia, very, very familiar with the Romanoff family and the revolution of 1918. Obviously the movie is completely different, but I was really interested in this one. It's got some really nice, interesting pictures. It's very simple, easy to understand. It's also one of the books I was sort of second guessing buying. I sort of picked it up, flicked through it, put it back, and then went away to look at some other books, went back to it, picked it up, flicked through it, said, yeah, maybe, and then I'm like, maybe not. So I put it back on the shelf, and I think I did that about 2 more times before I eventually decided to put it on my pile. So there's that one. So that is box 1 finished. Okay, now let's move on to box number 2. Just open it up a bit. So we are going to start with Ballet Guide. So I was actually a dancer for about 4 years. I did jazz, tap, ballet, hip hop, and contemporary. So I saw this one and I thought, oh, that might be really interesting, but it's pretty much got information about all different ballets, so not just ballet as a dance, but it's got, if I read you the first page, it says background listings, credits and descriptions of more than 500 of the world's major ballets. So it's got an incredibly long contents page, so there's 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, 8 pages of contents. It's alphabetical, which is good. So a lot of these I haven't heard of. Some of them I didn't even know were ballets, like Anna Karenina. Same with, obviously another well-known one is Cinderella. You know, you always do Cinderella. There is, where was it? just lost it and I just had it. Coppelia, I don't know if I butchered that pronunciation. Orpheus. So all different ballets. Peter and the Wolf, another really famous one. And it also has a glossary of key terms, but it's different because the glossary is actually in the front after the introduction. So when I get a non-fiction book, I'm usually used to having the glossary at the back of the book after the book. So yeah, that's interesting. So I got that one. Alright. Next book we've got this one, Aboriginal Men in Australia. This was listed for $3 because it's quite thick. Again, gave it to me for $1 because it's got a big hole in the dust cover here and a bit of damage to the dust cover around here. But again, doesn't bother me because I will just toss the dust cover. But this is actually a collection of essays. And it says Essays in Honour of Emeritus Professor A.P. Elkin. Which I thought was really interesting because I was one of those weirdos that actually liked writing essays in school, and then obviously studying my bachelor's in early childhood, I did a lot of essays. Strangely enough, none in my vet nursing course yet. I'm only in my Cert 2, but yes, maybe in my Cert 4 I might be doing some. But yeah, really interesting. It is quite long and thick. I know a lot of you guys on Instagram maybe might not like thick books because they do seem intimidating, but again, if the subject matter is what you're interested in, just take the plunge and read it. So I got that one. Let's just open this one up. I've got another non-fiction book that is thicker than that Aboriginal Essays one. Check out how thick this one is, you guys. So this one is A History of the 21st Century, Volume 1 from 1900 to 1933. So obviously now I'm going to have to look for the other volumes. Again, this was listed for $3, but he gave it to me for $1 because part of this has been chopped off for some reason. But again, it's okay. So again, it's quite long, but again, it's got a lot of subject matter that will interest me. It's interesting as well because normally sometimes with non-fiction books you have like a section of photographs in the middle of the book that go with the story, but this actually has a few sections of photographs, so really interesting to have three sections of photographs. So yeah, there's that one. I think that might be the non-fiction done. Oh no, I've still got more non-fiction, but I have got a couple of fiction books in this book. So we'll go with this one, Patricia Cornwell, Predator. I have borrowed one of her other books from my local library called Autopsy. So I haven't read it yet, but if you guys have read it, let me know what you think. Again, it's got the dust cover, so I'll probably, get rid of it. But this one it says, Florida is full of predators, from the animals who thrive in its humid heat to the humans who stalk the air-conditioned malls, and they all give Dr. Kay Scarpetta, now Director of Forensic Science and Medicine at the National Forensic Academy, the opportunity and the means to do what she does best, persuading the dead to speak to her. In the icy chill of Boston, Benton Wesley is working on a secret project involving convicted killers, one of whom appears to confess to an even higher number of murders than the authorities had known about. It is a project that gives Scarpetta deep disquiet, as does the behaviour of her niece Lucy, who is spending too much time drinking and indulging in casual pickups in cheap bars. The Academy is called in to assist in the discovery of a young woman's remains in Massachusetts. She has been tortured, sexually abused, her body tattooed with handprints. The same sort of handprints Lucy had seen on the flesh of her latest pickup. Meanwhile, Scarpetta and Marino are investigating the disappearance of a family in Florida. A neighbour had appealed to them directly, insisting that the local police were not taking the case seriously. But as the search and find the telltale signs of abduction rather than disappearance, they also discover that someone has assumed the identity of the caller, and she is now dead. They've been set up, and it becomes terrifyingly clear that somebody is tracking their every move. So, I actually quite like that it has quite a long blurb because it gives me lots of information about what the book's about. So there's that one. So if you're into Patricia Cornwell's books, then yeah. Next one, non-fiction. I've got Britney Spears' autobiography, The Woman in Me. So obviously growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, I grew up with Britney Spears when she released like Baby One More Time, Oops, I Did It Again. Even when she released, like, I remember being in like early high school when Circus came out. Yeah, showing my age. So obviously when I heard that she was writing a book, obviously I was really excited about it because I am actually a pretty big Britney fan. So I was really glad to add this one to my collection. It's been on my TBR and to be bought list for quite a while, so I was able to tick that off. So there's that one. Another non-fiction, History's Greatest Hits. So this one is about like really sort of not nasty events, but it has a lot of like battles, assassinations, things like that. So it's got the Battle of Waterloo, it's got the assassination of Julius Caesar, it's got Joan of Arc's execution, but then it goes and it's all like set up in sections. So the sections are the ancient world 250 BC to 500 AD, the Middle Ages and Renaissance from 1000 to 1500, the early modern era from 1500 to 1900, a world at war from 1900 to 1950, and then the Cold War and beyond from 1950 to 2001. So it's got 4 sections in the Cold War and beyond section. One of them is the assassination of President Kennedy, then the first moon landing, then the fall of the Berlin Wall. I actually have an entire book about the fall of the Berlin Wall, and then obviously 9/11 as well. And I remember I was in 2nd grade when that happened, so yeah. But again, it's set out quite interestingly. It's got nice easy information, really cool pictures as well. Oh, the Battle of the Somme. My great grandfather fought in the Battle of the Somme and was actually in the same battalion, no joke, as J.R.R. Tolkien. So, a little bit of history there. And I actually did an assignment in 9th grade when we were learning about World War One. I'd included a photograph of my great-grandfather and his battalion in the Battle of the Somme, and I got full marks for the assignment for including a bit of personal history, so that was really cool. But anyways, let's continue this unboxing. Next one we've got is Toxin by Robin Cook. So I actually find, for some weird reason, again, things to do with like diseases, plagues, and things like really interesting. So when I saw this book about a girl that died from like E. coli poisoning, I was like, ooh, that's really cool. And then it reminded me of a CSI Miami episode where a girl dies from E. coli, and then the boyfriend ends up in hospital and ends up being brain dead, and obviously he dies in the end as well, but anyway, spoiler alert. And they think he's got E. coli, but he actually doesn't have E. coli, he has botulism, so completely different disease. So this one's a really interesting read about chasing the source of where the E. coli comes from. So pretty much this is what it's about. So it says, recently divorced surgeon Dr. Kim Regis is determined to remain a good father to his only child, Becky. One night he takes her to a favourite fast food restaurant for a feast of burgers and fries, but tragedy strikes afterwards as the young girl becomes increasingly ill. She dies horrifically several days later as a result of poisoning by E. coli bacteria. Everything suggests that Becky's death was the result of shoddy food handling practices, but who is likely to admit that? Frantic with grief and impotent rage, Kim throws all his energies into tracing the cause of the contamination. He is certainly prepared for bureaucratic indifference, but is also met with terrifying violence as powerful vested interests connive to discover his inquiries. Aided by his ex-wife, Kim doggedly follows a deadly trail of complicity and guilt stretching from slaughterhouse floor to the corporate boardroom. And in a race against time, before others are poisoned, they finally come face to face with the shocking and elusive truth, while putting their own lives in extreme danger. So there's that one. And we've got one more for box number 2. Another Patricia Cornwell. This one is called Blowfly. So this one is another Scarpetta novel, but this one is a woman found dead, but she has a history of violent outbursts and blackouts. So yeah, it's pretty weird. And then yeah, she is Scarpetta, meaning she. She is contacted from a killer on death row that she put away, who is like demanding that he needs to see her, and it's like, ugh, don't really want to talk to you because you're a psycho. So yeah, there's that one. And that is box number 2 done. Okay, box number 3. We are going to start with James Herriot, Every Living Thing. So obviously, being a vet nurse, I had to get a James Herriot book. But also I watch a series, actually when I go and see my mum, called Yorkshire Vet. And the main vet in that, Dr. Peter Wright, is a former Herriot trainee. So yeah, really interesting to get this little book. It is sort of set out in like a novel style, but again, it's really well put together, beautiful little book. So I was really excited to get that one. Next one, I got Schindler's List. So obviously very famous movie with Liam Neeson. It is in my watch list on, I think, Netflix, one of the streaming services. So I haven't actually watched it yet, so maybe I might read the book first, then watch the movie. So but my husband does like Schindler's List as well, so this can be a book that we can read together. So there's that one. Okay, next one, James Patterson Postcard Killers. So I got quite a few James Patterson books in this sale. I've got a couple of his books on my shelf already. I know I've got Zoo, but I can't remember what the other one is. So this one is about NYPD detective, and his daughter is killed, and there's a whole heap of clues that lead him to his daughter's killer, but he doesn't see it through his eyes, he sees it through the killer's eyes. And the only proper clue that they get is a postcard depicting the location prior to the next attack. So that one I thought was really interesting to pick up there. Next one that I've got is a Kathy Reichs book. So I haven't actually read any of her books yet, but I have heard really good things about her books. So this one's called Seizure. So it's to do with piracy and anthropology, and there's like a desert island. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily a desert island, but it's definitely an island. There's a trail, there's a bunch of dead bodies on the trail, so yeah, if you like that sort of thing, Seizure. Next one, another Kathy Reichs book, Virals. So this one's sort of more of a sci-fi, which I don't generally go towards, but this one sounded really interesting. I spent like 3.5 hours at this book sale just reading blurbs and flicking through books, and it was really fun. So this one says, Tori Brennan was born a sci-file. Besides being the niece of world-famous forensic anthropologist Temperance Brennan, Tori and her science geek friends have grown up exploring the backwoods marshlands of Loggerhead Island, home to the mysterious and very off-limits Loggerhead Research Institute. Fortunately, Tori and her friends aren't afraid of breaking a few rules, and when they discover a captive wolf dog pup being held in the Institute for testing, they hatch a plot to bust him out. But freeing the pup means unleashing the unexpected, a contagious experimental strain of canine parvovirus that infects all 4 sci-files almost instantly, altering their DNA forever. With heightened senses and animal-quick reflexes, the virals are dangerous to the core. But are they unstoppable enough to solve a cold-blooded murder, especially when the killers caught their scent? Oh! On the back of the book, it says, "Don't miss Seizure, book 2 in the Viral series coming soon." Huh. So these 2 are actually a series. That's cool. I didn't know that when I picked those up. Cool. Now I'm excited for those even more. Okay. Next one, Roots. So obviously another very, very famous sort of historical novel, all to do with like slavery and things like that. So again, if you guys are into like history and stuff, a lot of slave trading, then yeah, definitely check Roots out, and the series as well. So got that one. Next one I got is another James Patterson book, but this one is also Andrew Gross as well, so sort of together, and it's called The Jester. So this one is set in 11th century France, so it's not modern, it's more, again, historical novel, and basically a chap comes home from the Crusades, very famous time around there. Pretty much they take the role of a jester to infiltrate a castle, where he thinks his wife is being held captive. So, yeah, that one's going to be really interesting to read as well. And I love a hardcover book, even though most of them do come with dust covers, but yeah. Next one, another James Patterson, but this time it's got David Ellis, and this one is called Murder House. So, pretty much, this house is abandoned. It's known as the Murder House. It seems like it's going to be an open and shut case, but it's not. So, lots and lots of twists and turns, and the main character, who is a detective, she has to obviously risk her life, because what would a detective novel be without a little life risking? So, there's that one. Ooh. Just bang that up. Ugh. Another James Patterson one, but this one is really tiny, so I reckon I'll polish this one off in like maybe an hour or two. I'm a very, very fast reader. This one's very, very similar to the Ocean's movies, but I think more the modern one with Cate Blanchett, Anne Hathaway and the like. So pretty much there's a heist with diamonds. They're set off to Amsterdam with the diamonds, but then obviously they get tracked by the police, but they're also being chased by someone else. So that's going to be a really interesting read there. Another historical novel, The Day We Had Hitler Home. This one was another one, so I'm just adjusting my positioning because I'm sitting on the floor. I'm a little bit older, so, I gotta be comfortable. But anyways, I digress. So, The Day We Had Hitler Home, it's another historical fiction. So pretty much, it's 1919, and Australia's just signed the peace treaty, which is going to create the conditions where Nazism would thrive, as it says on the back. And there's a celebration at a remote fishing port, and the steamer actually brings Hitler to Australia. So that's going to be an interesting read. And if you've watched my previous videos, I do love a lot of World War II history. Obviously, I know it was a very, very bad time with Hitler in power, but there's just so much to learn about it. But yeah. Next one, we've got Robert Ludlum. I think actually my dad has a few of his books. My dad is another avid reader, just like me. So this one's called The Hades Factor. This is another virus-centered disease virus, not computer virus. I reckon if it was about a computer virus, it might not interest me as much, because again, like I said before, I don't really go for sci-fi books. I don't even read hardly any non-fiction about science and science, yes, but technology not so much, because again, it's not really a field that would interest me. But yeah, so this one's pretty much your standard secret government lab. There's a virus that they're studying. They're trying to unlock all the secrets. And then the virus obviously gets corrupted. It spreads. People start dying. But it's pretty much your typical, it's not an accident that this has happened. So this is going to be another interesting read. 2 more in this box. So I've got this one on Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. It's actually a new owner's guide to owning a King Charles Spaniel, Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, but I just think it's so cute. Look at the teethers! They're so cute! I do actually get quite a few cavies at my clinic where I work at. They are just such sweet little dogs, and my husband actually used to own one way before we met. My mother-in-law had two, and his best friend had one as well. And my husband's dog and his best friend's dog were actually the parents of the two owned by my mother-in-law. So I thought I've got to get a book on the cavies because they're just so cute. So there's that one. And the last one in this box is... The last one in this box is some Renaissance essays. So again, another essay book. Again, find essays really interesting. Now that I think about it, I kind of want to see if there's a book around about all the essays that Alexander Hamilton wrote. So yeah, I might have to check that out. If you guys actually know if there is a book about it, please let me know down in the comments, because that would be such awesome reading. And my husband's a big Hamilton fan as well. So yeah, so I bought this one just sort of because I found it interesting. I don't know a lot about the Renaissance either, because I always thought it was more to do with like art, which again is not a subject that I'm super interested in. But yeah, I just thought, why not have a couple of essay books in my collection just for, you know, shits and giggles. So that is box number 3. Alrighty, we are on our last box. Let me just adjust again. Let's get into this last box, guys. So, I better get the other one out because there's the book and the sequel, Devil Wears Prada and Revenge Wears Prada. I love The Devil Wears Prada. It is one of my favorite movies. And then when I saw the book and they had Revenge Wears Prada as well, I was like, yoink! So, really excited to add these two to my collection. So, obviously we're all pretty familiar with The Devil Wears Prada and the fashion world and Runway and Miranda Priestly and Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway and Emily Blunt are all legends. And Stanley Tucci. So there's that. Dean Koontz, The Silent Corner. My dad's got quite a lot of Dean Koontz, and he got me into another Dean Koontz book called Watchers, which is about, like, again, underground government lab, but they're experimenting on a couple of animals. One of them is an incredibly smart Labrador, and the other one is a really, really smart baboon. But anyways, so this one, I will give a little bit of a trigger warning with this one because it does have strong themes of suicide. So if you're not comfortable with reading things like that, then I definitely wouldn't recommend this book. I don't even know why I'm comfortable reading something that seems so morbid. But then again, I am a true crime junkie and a complete and utter weirdo. But anyways, I digress. So yeah, if you do have a little bit of a issue with like suicides, and not just like one or two, but it's got heavy suicidal themes, so definitely wouldn't recommend. But if you're into that sort of thing, then sure, pick up a copy. So there's that one. What's this one? Oh, Hannibal by Thomas Harris. So my husband has Red Dragon. This is going to be a comment that is going to cop me a lot of flack. I have never seen The Silence of the Lambs. Terrible, I know. But I reckon by reading the books, I obviously do want to watch The Silence of the Lambs at some point. It's in my watch list. So when I saw this one, I thought, oh, we could add that to the collection. So this will probably be one that I will read together with my husband. When I say read together with my husband, I mean me reading aloud and him listening to me, because we tried reading together, but he's like, I like your reading voice better. You're so much better at reading aloud than me. So yeah, so I read aloud and he just listens. Next one, another historical fiction, Burr by Gore Vidal. This was actually on my list of books to get / borrow from the library. Historical fiction about Aaron Burr, who assassinated Alexander Hamilton. Again, if you haven't watched the musical, then you probably have little to no idea who this guy was, because I saw his name first in Cards Against Humanity, and I'm like, who's Aaron Burr? I have no idea who this is. And then obviously I watched Hamilton, and then I'm like, oh, so that's who Aaron Burr is. So got this one about the story of Aaron Burr, so really excited to have this one. And it will go with the Alexander Hamilton book that I bought my husband. The big, thick, yellow one that's like yay big. So yeah, there's that. We're almost done, you guys. And when I say almost done, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books to go. Let's get down to it. With another Dean Koontz. This one is The House of Thunder. So this one has a lot of themes about amnesia, waking up in a hospital bed, having no idea how the hell you got there, and yeah, pretty much, yeah, it's really weird. So the lady that wakes up in the hospital actually watched her husband die in a college hazing incident, and she wakes up, all the faces that surround her are actually the faces of those that killed her husband, but, well, not husband, but it says lover on the back, but obviously because she has amnesia, she has no idea, and you think, okay, is she going mad? What's going on? The last little bit of the blurb says, have the dead come back to life, or has Susan plunged into the abyss of madness? With the help of her neurosurgeon, Susan desperately clings to her sanity while fighting to uncover who or what could be stalking her. So that's going to be another interesting one. And it's not super long either. I could probably finish this in maybe, I don't know, a day and a half, depending. So there's that one. Next one was another one that's been on my list for a while, called The Birthing House. So it's your typical go to a house, you buy a house, it seems completely perfect, and it's not perfect at all. It is a house full of secrets. Yeah, so there's weird like photographs and things that they find, and yeah, so it's pretty interesting. It's your typical Victorian sort of yeah, I think it would class as a horror because it says the scariest novel since Stephen King's The Shining. The birthing house grips for the first time to the terrifying final twist. So yeah, I think I would class that as a horror book. So there's that one. Next one I got was a Lemony Snicket book, A Series of Unfortunate Events. This one is number 8, The Hostile Hospital. So I have, give me 1 second. I have up to number 7 of Lemony Snicket, and this is number 8, so this is legit where I'm up to with this series. Okay, that's really exciting. Yay. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, next one we've got another true crime one. World's Famous Gangsters. So I don't really have a lot of books specifically on gangsters, and I don't really know much about them other than, like, you know, obviously like Al Capone and people like that. So this one has, oh yeah, Bonnie and Clyde do count as gangsters. Okay, cool, yeah. So I don't really know a lot about gangsters, so I thought that it might be really interesting to add to my collection. So yeah, it's got people like, if I just go back to the contents page. So yes, it does have Bonnie and Clyde. It has Al Capone, Bugsy Siegel, drug barons, the Russian mafia. So it's set out in like chapters, and it's got some really cool pictures in it as well. I mean, obviously, you know, they are gangsters, so they're not supposed to be cool, but again, true crime junkie and weirdo, so yeah. Next one we've got, okay, so yeah, this does say it's a thriller. Do Not Disturb. So yeah, it says from the author of the shocking thriller The Girl in 6E. So basically this girl has locked herself away 3 years because she has weird, like, homicidal tendencies. One day she decides to venture out. Those urges start coming, and yeah, she's trying to obviously suppress those feelings. So this is going to be super interesting. Again, it's not super long, so I could probably polish this off in a day and a half, depending. So there's that one. We have 3 to go. 3 to go. So next one we've got is Matthew Riley, The Great Zoo of China. So again, it's a secret government lab, but this time it's not in America, it's in China. And yeah, pretty much they're like, oh, everyone's safe, it's all fine. It's not fine, as it is with any thriller. Is this a thriller? I would assume so. Yeah, it doesn't really say if it's a thriller. I'm actually pretty sure my dad's got a couple of Matthew Riley books as well. I have to ask him. So there's that one. Another Dean Koontz one. This one is From the Corner of His Eye. This one actually had a paperback copy and a hardcover copy, and same with that one of those Patricia Cornwell books, Predator. I just had to remember what the book was called. So that one and Predator had both paperback and hard copies. Because fiction was free, I'm like, I'm taking the hard copies because I love a good hard copy. Like a hardcover book, they're just so, like, much easier to handle. So this one, again, another thriller. He has his eyes removed from cancer. If you guys have issues and triggers for, like, cancer and surgery and stuff, would not recommend this. So pretty much, yeah, it's weird that he gains his sight back even though he has no eyes, so it's sort of like, ugh, this is weird. So yeah, if you're into that sort of grotesque-ish books, then yeah, go for that. I am also a huge, like, horror movie nerd. I love anything sort of gory slasher, like Saw and Terrifier are 2 of my favorite movie series. So I have no problems with blood and gore and guts. So Last one, historical fiction, Colossus. So this one is set in the Alexander the Great time. It says Babylon 323 BC. There's a lot of issues with some war elephants. Yeah, like you look at an elephant and you think, oh, they're beautiful, they're a gentle giant, you know, they wouldn't hurt a fly. Haha, elephants will fuck you up. They will fuck you up royally. So if you mess with an elephant, you're screwed. So that is going to be really interesting. I also really love anything to do with like animal horror, which is one of the reasons why I bought Zoo. It's one of the reasons why Funnel Web by Richard Ryan is one of my favorite books of all time. So yeah, I really love that. And there's a lot of good animal horror movies as well. I've also added Cujo to my Stephen King collection, my ever-growing Stephen King collection. So yeah, if you're into like animal, like it's not necessarily horror, but like animals gone wild, then I would highly recommend getting something like this. So there's that one. And that is our unboxing finished. So, wanted to say a big thank you to you guys for joining me again. I upload videos Wednesdays and Saturdays, so stay tuned for those. Keep an update on my Instagram for when I upload videos. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Give me any book recommendations that are similar to these books, and yeah, it will be greatly appreciated. Also, obviously, because I've got these 4 boxes of books, I will be doing another shelf reshuffle and restructure, because if you saw from my last shelf restructuring, I have to have everything categorized, alphabetized. Yeah, that's just my autism doing that to me. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And I really hope you guys have a great week ahead of you. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.